I, I went to visit Linda when they were feeling around for churches, and I could see that after she had been in the large church it's the one that she worked in as a director of Christian education.
North Augusta. North Augusta.
North Augusta, yeah. When she worked in that size church, it's hard for her to see the real impact in a smaller situation, or no situation at all. She wasn't even working in the church after she left the North Augusta church, and yet it wasn't long before she was lay leader of a church that she wasn't even going to at the time. She tried the new church a bit, and somehow the minister didn't really support her spiritual life. And now, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I think he does, and I think she's blessed by it. Of course, he's not perfect. He's like the rest of us, and she has some faults to find with his methods. But anyway, have I answered your question?
I think so. Let me change tape. Why the Methodist Church?
Well, the Methodist Church is a warm-hearted church, and at its best, they're looking for ways of helping people. They're involving people in ministries of various sorts, helping the poor and the uneducated. If there's a place where a young person wants to consider the ministry, there are no restrictions now for man or woman to be encouraged. In other words, if up until a few years ago, if it was a woman, they'd have to be a Sunday school teacher or something to satisfy that inner impulse to be a spokesman for God. And there are different ways of preaching. One is from the pulpit, but another is from your life in the community. And that is something that women had been doing for years. But now they're ordained, and it's sort of hard. They've come on so strong. I had told the lady who's the district superintendent and is now a conference preacher, back when she was my associate, that she was telling me about somebody else, some other woman going into the ministry, wanted to know what I thought about it and so forth. I told her, well, it looks to me like there's a chance that there's going to be all women and no men. And she says, well, I hope that doesn't ever happen. She didn't want that to happen. But there are more women going into the ministry, I believe, now, and into the divinity school than there are men. That may not be true at all, because I've got no list to go by. But the theory we were talking about was
why the Methodist Church?
Why the Methodist Church? Mm-hmm. The Methodist Church has been passionately concerned about the down and outers, the poor and those who are not influential, and yet they're very active Methodists in Congress. I can't name any of them, but that's been true all along, that they are interested in their community and in any other program that helps people, such as drinking alcoholic beverages and getting on the highway in a car, killing somebody. The church tries to be on the right side in those matters. And the Methodist Church has not, contrary to what some other churches believe, they are not saying we know it all. We're still trying to be a learning church, and we may be wrong, but we are not through. So we ought to remember that we're not through. And some of the other denominations are not even long on the road enough to even let a woman be an ordained preacher. So many Baptist churches won't ordain a woman, and it's tearing their church up. So the Methodist Church is helping with homes for the children and helping with homes for the aged, meeting a real ministry where there's a real need, and we ourselves are able to see it, and we're going right into it. That the church is a need that the Methodist Church has been very active in. Colleges, there is a lot of Methodist colleges. Some of them cut the ties to the Methodist Church, but University of Southern California was a Methodist church at one time, and some of these others are around. Changes. That's the Methodist Church. It changed too much sometimes to suit me, but changing is a possibility for growth. And I don't mean growth in numbers. It may be growth in spirit, or growth in opportunities, things of that sort. But I love the Methodist Church. I don't want to go to conference in particular. I've been to conference so much, but I think it may be important. My influence may be important. And so the Methodist Church was good to me. I had good appointments. And had bigger churches than my father had. And it wasn't because I was a better preacher. It was just because of different circumstances. And maybe I stood with some of the church leaders and polished the apple a little bit. I don't think I did, because it was always repulsive to me and to my father too, that people would use political pull within the church to get a better appointment.